Okay, so I like promise that at some point I will put some things on this bookshelf. I do have a candle, it's just out of frame though. But yeah, we're gonna decorate, get a little background. It's just gonna take a little while. Hey guys, thanks for coming back to check out another video. I just first want to say thank you guys so much. I took a little mini break from YouTube, but I have read through all of the comments that you guys have posted on my videos and things like that. It's just going to be a slow process getting back to like replying to all of them. So I am slowly but surely heading in that direction. So just bear with me. I just don't want you guys to feel like oh, there's no point in commenting, like she doesn't answer back. Like I really do enjoy reading your comments and like replying to them and things like that. It's just sometimes I'm slow at it. So but yeah, what is this update? We are gonna do pan those eyeshadows, and I am not sure which update this is. It will be in the title, but I know that I missed last month's because I was out of town. So what I filmed instead was like a kind of like a palette bingo, but with pan those eyeshadows. I'm not gonna like explain it. I'll leave it linked above and down below so you guys can go check it out. It was just like a random eye look, and I really had fun like filming that. So we're gonna get into this update. We do have 2 new pans, just in case you want that spoiler, because I know sometimes people just click off the video, but either way. We're going to do that, go through the shades, and then once we go through everything, we are going to put back all 6 of the shades that we were working, no, excuse me, 5 of the shades that we were working on, and we're going to refresh this project. So I do want to start, I see the benefit of like letting the random number generator completely choose the eyeshadows for you, because it pulls you out of your comfort zone. And I just, when I'm picking them myself, like, yes, it's a lot of fun and I have enjoyment out of that because I'm working on what I want to, but I'm not like challenging myself or anything. So I do want to let the random number generator do it. I have a spreadsheet with all of the eyeshadows in my collection that do not have pan in them so that we can pull from. It does not include black shadows simply because I don't really wear black eyeshadows. I don't use them as liners or anything like that. And then the other rules that I have set in place is that, so we'll work on 6 eyeshadows. The ultimate goal is to hit pan. However, if I use a shade 20 times, I think is what I had determined for myself. Yeah, or if I reach the 20 use mark and I want to roll it out, I can. Probably what's going to happen is even at 20 uses, if it doesn't have pan, if it looks like we're close, like I'll keep it in. And then the final rule that I will set is that I don't want to work on similar shades at a given time. So if we already have like a brown and we randomize another brown that's like really similar, like I'll just re-roll. So, but let's get into what our shades were before we start this like little refresh. And so I have them swatched out for you. So this was Blossom Up from ColourPop Blush Crush. This is Maasai from the Juvia's Place The Tribe palette. This is E.T. from the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green palette. This is Mystical from the Uoma Beauty Black Magic Allure palette. And this one down here is Clary Sage, which is from a little Etsy brand, MBA Cosmetics, and it was from their Garden Party eyeshadow palette, I do believe. So that is what our color palette was looking like. A lot of greens. I have to say, I did get a little bit like turned off of greens, and I've been more into using like purples and oranges and things like that. I know today's look is a really intense pink look, but I wanted to play with the Aina palette. So enough rambling, let me show you what the shades are, how they're looking. So the first one is Blossom Up from Blush Crush from ColourPop. So my Blush Crush palette is going to look way different than yours if you bought it, because I like did a little build your own like 9-pan palette, but I do have Blossom Up in its correct spot. So here is what it is looking like. As you can see, we have nice pan on it. So I used it 8 times since I have last seen you guys, and that makes 17 times in total to hit pan. So really glad that that one, I was kind of getting like not bored with it, but it's like a bright springy pink. And so I'm really happy that I was able to like hit pan on it and kind of, you know, just meet that little mini goal. Okay, so then the next one is the like very intense lime green color from the Juvia's Place palette. And the packaging is so reflective. I'm never sure like what angle to hold it at to give you guys like the best look, but there is a dip in it. I think if it's like right there, you can see the dip really well. So I used this 4 times since I last showed you, and that makes for 11 times in total. So no pan, but there is quite the dip on that shade. So I'm not even mad. These pans are massive. Like I've seen other people hit pan on their Juvia's Place, like the bigger shadows like this, and it just takes forever. So this palette was one that really intimidated me. So having it in this project, even though I didn't hit pan, working with it made me much more comfortable with this palette. And so I feel like that's a win overall. The next one was the ET shade from the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green palette. Let me cover up the mirror as best I can. So it is this shade right here. There is a little bit of a dip in it, but again, I don't know if you can tell. It's such a dark green shade that I think it's hard for the camera to like register the dent in it. I did use it 3 times. I think this got rolled in last time, so I've only used it 3 times in total. It did have a nice dip on it prior to coming into this project, so it was one of those shades that just, if you're doing like those kind of like grungy green looks, it's just great as like an outer V shade or a liner or something like that. So that is how I tended to use it. Okay, next up we have Mystical from the Black Magic palette. And so as you can see, Mystical right here does have a nice pan on it. I am so happy to finally get this palette looking, you know, loved. I know it's just 1 pan, but still it makes me really excited because this is one of my top like favorite palettes. I love it. It's subculture to me. Like that was why I bought it, but it's like a better formula. So with this shade Mystical though, I used it 7 times since I last saw you guys, and I guess it got rolled in last time as well because I only have written down that I used it 7 times in total. So I have found to, I mentioned this in like my project panning like tips thing, but so Mystical is kind of like a, I don't know if it's like a pressed glitter. It has a different texture than like a regular metallic or shimmer, but either way, it's a shade that you would typically like use your finger with to apply it to your lids. However, if you use brushes, you hit pan in your eyeshadows more quickly. And so I think that that was one reason why I was able to accomplish that only after 7 uses. Granted, it did have some good use on it prior to it getting rolled into this project. And then too, if you look at it, I feel like the pans are kind of shallow in there. Like they're the standard like 26 millimeter pans, but it just seems like they're a little bit more shallow than like something else. So there's that. Then the last one, the Clary Sage shade from NBA Cosmetics. This is what it is currently looking like. There is some disruption there in the center, and I think you can tell like in the center mainly, we've worn away the imprint that comes on this shade. So this got rolled in last time, and I've used it twice to make for 2 times in total. So I consider that a success. We had 2 pans that we hit since we last saw each other. I'm really, you know, happy with that, but I'm also happy to do this refresh. So I hope you guys are like excited too. So I have Pretty Random already pulled up, and I have Prevent Rerolls, and I have the numbers 1 through 410 in because I have 410 eyeshadows available in my collection to hit pan on. I tried my best. I think I got all of the black shades removed from the like spreadsheet, and then I have like a little magnetic palette that is full of like cream shades that I've like depotted from other palettes. Those shades aren't included either, but if we roll like a cream shade that's in like a palette, then I will hit pan on that. But yeah, other than that, let's just roll our 6 numbers. So we get 168, we get 73, 147, 52, 144, and one more makes 87. Okay, So I will go look up what these are, and I will be right back to show you, and we will just get on into it. Okay, sorry if the angle changed. I like turned off the camera to conserve battery. So we're back. I have gotten all of the palettes. I have looked at the shades because I wanted to pre-swatch them. I was like really excited reading like what palettes they were because I'm not like super familiar with all of the shades in these. And then I was like a little disappointed, but I'm still overall really happy because it's palettes that I'm like, yes, I want to work with this. So I'm gonna go in numerical order that they are in the spreadsheet because it doesn't, I don't want to like, that's how I wrote it down. So I'm not going to like skip around and try to remember like how I actually rolled them for you. So the first one that we got is number 52, which comes from our Jackie Aina palette. And it is the shade Lituation right here. So you can see like it already has a nice dip on it, but I'm really excited to try this shade. Like it's one of those shades where I think it's really pretty. It's like a kind of like taupey dark purple, but it intimidates me. Like this whole palette kind of intimidates me. It is what I'm wearing today on my eyes, and every time I use it I'm really happy with how the eye looks turn out, but it takes me forever to like decide what to do, if that makes sense. So I'm happy that this got pulled in. Hopefully I can get like more comfortable with this palette, and I'm just excited in general to show it some more love. Then the next shade that we have was 73, which actually comes from the Kaleidos Futurism. I think this is the 7. It's the Sashimi City. I ordered this right when it came out because this is just me in a palette. I couldn't help myself, you guys. I just, love it so much, and I really love the Kaleidos formula, so I'm happy to have added this. The shade we got though was Gourmet. I was like hoping to get one of the shimmers. This is Pink Ginger, and I can't recall the name of this one off the top of my head, but Gourmet is kind of this like light, it looks more like a mustard brown in the pan, but once I swatched it and you guys see it, it kind of has more of like actual yellow than like mustard to it. So I don't know, I think it's gonna make a really simple, easy transition shade though, so I'm not mad to have pulled this, and you know, I get to reach into this palette more, so hopefully I do get to you know, explore this with some of the other shades and then pull in these two shimmers as well to create some looks. So shade number 2. Then 87 comes from this Blush Crush palette. Now, like I said before when I showed you guys this, I kind of did like a build your own build your own palette. I had just saved this, and it's all ColourPop shades that are in here. So I didn't, like, I have written on the back what the actual shade name is, and I know Blossom Up is actually Blossom Up and it's in that spot. But the other shades in the spreadsheet, I just wrote them down as like what they correspond to the name in the pan where they're sitting. So we got the shade The One, but that's not like its real name. I believe this actually came from the Strawberry Shake palette. It might be the shade Woke if I'm not mistaken. It's a really pretty like easy transition shade. It's just kind of a peachy pink shade. Not really a shade that I would like for this time of year, but you know, we'll see. We'll try it out, at least hit that 20 use mark. So this will also, if we were to hit pan in this shade, like it would just look like this little build your own palette is so loved because it'll make the 4th pan. So I'm kind of happy to continue to work on these ColourPop singles. Usually when I depot palettes, they just, like whatever I depot just like it just goes into the abyss, you know. I'm pretty sure we're all like that. So the next shade was 144, and then we got 147 as well, and I was hoping those would come from the same palette, but they don't. So shade 144 actually comes from the BH Cosmetics Galaxy Chic palette. This was thoughtfully gifted to me by my mama. So the shade we got was the shade Moon here. I am really excited. This is like, in the pan it looks, I mean, it's kind of like marbled and baked, but in the pan it looks pretty dark, but actually swatched out it's kind of like an icy taupey blue shade. I'm really excited to pull this in. It reminds me a lot of Cyborg from the ABH Sultry palette. So, but yeah, I'm really happy to get to play with this palette as well. Then the next shade, like I said, was 147. So it's actually a single, but I brought in the palette as well. So let me explain. It comes from the Juvia's Place, the Saharan palette. but the shade number is for Wodabi, which my friend depotted. So I have my like replacement Wodabi shade. I just haven't yet glued it into this palette, which I need to do. That's why I'm showing you the palette, because next update this shade might be in there. So this shade, like I said, I'm gonna glue it in here, so that's why it's listed with the Juvia's Place palette, but it's actually a ColourPop single, and it is the shade Carrot Cake, and I absolutely love this. And the people that I have like swatched out Carrot Cake for, and they also own the Saharan palette, they say this is like a pretty good dupe for that Wodabi shade. So I'm really happy to get to pull this in and work on it. It's such a pretty like gold. It's more like, when I swatched it out, it's more of like a traditional gold, whereas that Wodabi shade is more of like a dirty gold. So again, it's not a spot on dupe, but for what I had in my collection to fit into that palette, it works. So really happy about that. And then the last shade that we got was 168, which comes from also Juvia's Place. It's the Nubian 2 palette. So I had actually, they had a sale like months ago, and I was doing some retail therapy. We've all been going through some things, but they had the, is it the Nubian 3, the coral palette? They had that on sale for like, I don't know, like $10. And so I was like, yes, I want that. And then after I ordered it and it shipped, I was kind of like, you're not going to use that. Like, it has those gray tones in it. It's just going to sit in your collection and not be used. So I was kind of like mad at myself. But anyway, when the package arrived, they had actually accidentally sent me this palette. And so I contacted them to let them know, because I don't know if this one was on sale at the same time or not. But either way, they were just like, oh, sorry, you know, we don't have any more like in stock of the coral palette. Just keep this. So that was fine. Now 2 shades in here did come shattered, and so I did have to repress them, so that's why it looks a little beat up and grungy. But the shade that actually corresponds to the number 168 is this shade Sheba right here. So as you can see, it does have a nice little dip. Again, I'm really excited to have gotten this palette, because while I like the colors in here, this to me does not scream like cohesive palette. So I do really want to try within the next month, as much as I'm able, to make a look with each shade that we have drawn randomly, but using their own palette to make a look, if that makes sense. And then also get creative and like make combinations and things like that. But I am looking at this as a way to also just get more comfortable with the palettes in general. So there are all the shades. Let me show you the swatches. So it's in order that I showed them to you. So this is the ABH Jackie Aina shade that we pulled. This is the Gourmet shade from the Sashimi City palette. This is that shade from the Blush Crush, like I think it's Woke, but we're just gonna call it the one. This is the Moon shade from BH Cosmetics, the Galaxy palette. Do you not, if you own Sultry, like, does that not just kind of give you the same vibes? So I'm super excited to pull that in. Here is that Carrot Cake shade. On camera, I feel like it always does look a little bit of like a dirty gold, but in person, it definitely pulls more like traditional gold. And then the last one down here is that Sheba shade. So looking at this, it's not like a super cohesive palette, but I'm really excited because you never know. Like, I always feel like I see people and they get their color story and it's not super cohesive, but then like the looks that they come up with, it's unreal, like the combinations and the pairings that they can do, and they can get like a really beautiful creative look. So pretty excited, pretty happy. But yeah, so I will work on these. We will have oh, what was I gonna say? I will have tallies. I will take pictures. I will be a good little project panner and have stats for you next time, as far as like how many pans in my collection do I have, and like percentages and things like that, because I always think that's interesting. I can tell you, because I just looked at the number, I do have 51 pans in my collection, but I don't remember how many total eyeshadows I have in my collection. So, I mean, there's 410 on the spreadsheet, so you can make like a rough estimate from that. But yeah, that is it. Hopefully this video wasn't too terribly long. Hopefully you guys are just as excited as I am, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!